Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstonempls.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're gonna go into an area that I love to talk about, and we've talked about this a few times in different ways. We've had a few people on talking about Bram Stoker. We're talking about Dracula, and this new book that just came out is another one that is it's brand new, and I'm really excited about it. Even though I've been kind of just kind of going through it, I can't wait to talk about it. The book is called, and I was lucky enough to get this from Llewellyn Books, which published this, and I have to say, Llewellyn does such a beautiful job with all of their books, and this one is absolutely gorgeous, and I've heard nothing but good things about it as well. The book is called The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula, explore the history of vampires and the inspiration behind Bram Stoker's masterpiece. And I have with us tonight the author of this book and the author of other books as well, which we're going to talk about as well, Steven J Rolfes. Mr. Rolfes, how are you doing tonight? Because I already know I massacred your name once already, so here we go.
I am wunderbar. Thank you so much, Greg, for letting me come on. And before we get into the wildness and have tables flying and everything, I want to have a little bit of show and tell.
Please do.
This is a gift that my son got for me for Christmas. I'm going to hold it up to the camera real close. You can't read it because the handwriting is absolutely horrible. This is a letter written by Bram Stoker himself.
Wow.
And then it is signed by the actor Henry Irving, who was his boss, and it's from the Lyceum Theater. And I have that over my computer when I'm writing. So I have Bram Stoker's spirit right there looking over me.
So let's just start there, because I think that's a great place to start. This is no ordinary book for you. This has to be something of a passion for you. I mean, it feels like that this has been part of your, that novel's been part of your life, probably your whole life.
Ever since I was like 7 or 8, and back in the 60s, we had what was called shock theater. And I saw Bela Lugosi and Todd Browning's Dracula, and I've been hooked since then. I've been very passionate about the novel, about the movies, about the legend. And then when I discovered Montague Summers, I quite wild about vampires as well.
So what is it about Dracula in particular that really draws, that really gets your attention, you really love about him?
Well, I think it's the same reason that this book has never once been out of print since 1897. The book is written in such a way that there are all manners of symbolism and meaning and conjecture put into the different characters and such. Seemingly, any way that you want to try to analyze this novel, you'll find success because there is so much here. It is a brilliant piece of literature.
It is. It absolutely is. And I presume then that you've probably read the book a number of times.
My first copy of it that I got when I was 9 years old, that had literally fallen apart in my hands because it was in constant use.
Oh, wow. So once again, the book is called The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula, explore the history of vampires and inspiration behind Bram Stoker's masterpiece. This just came out at the beginning of August. What is the book about?
Well, the book, it starts talking about vampires, actual vampires throughout history. I mentioned things such as Mercy Brown, Arnold Paola. And then we go through the history of how the book was written. Now, I'll let it slip out here that the original, my working title of the book was The Twisted Road to Castle Dracula. And the reason for that is that it does indeed twist through. It's a wild journey, and eventually it comes to head at 1897, but it really starts in 1815 on April 5th. And if you ever want to have a birthday party for Dracula, that's the day to do it. Because that, believe it or not, it started in what is now Indonesia on the island of Sumbawa. That's when the volcano Tambora erupted. And this eruption it dwarfed everything that had happened in geology. Even the 1884 eruption of Krakatoa was nothing compared to this. Now, why do I talk about a volcano? Because that changed the climate of the entire world. And it brought about 3 horror classics. One of them was Dracula. The other one was Frankenstein. And this is one that a lot of people don't realize, but you can trace it back, The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, because the change in the climate caused a cholera outbreak. And this cholera spread throughout the entire world, as cholera does. And trust me, if you're given a choice of how you can die, do not choose cholera. It's horrific. And it wound up at the Paris Opera. And there was a masquerade ball, just like you see in Phantom of the Opera.
I was just going to say, yeah.
There's a reason why he comes down dressed as the Red Death. This is where it began. One of the participants was dressed like a jester and suddenly started running around. People were laughing, thinking it was part of the party, but then he fell over dead. And they took off the mask and they saw that he had died of cholera. And at that point, other people in the party were starting to fall over. This 10 years later, Edgar Allan Poe with his young wife, Virginia, in the other room coughing because she had tuberculosis and she was dying of pestilence. He sat and in his horrified mind, he wrote The Mask of the Red Death. But if I may, to make it clear why I emphasize so much of the volcano and the climate change was the next year, 1816. That year, the English poet and hedonist, Lord Byron, had to leave England quickly. Appears that he did not like to pay his bills. And there were also a lot of husbands and brothers who were looking for him.
Yep.
So he left England in the company of a man named, I'm sure you've heard this name before, Polidori.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. John Polidori, he and Byron went to Switzerland, which was being flooded at the time. It was constant rain. In the meantime, a person he had never met but another poet, Percy Shelley, and his teenage mistress, Mary Godwin, and her half-sister, Claire Clement, they were planning to go to Scotland. Well, Claire Clement, the most insignificant player in the drama, turned out to be the most significant player because she was passionately in love with Lord Byron, and she was also passionately pregnant by Lord Byron. And she found out he had gone to Switzerland. So she told her half-sister and Percy Shelley, hey, if you want, you want mountains, you don't have to go to Scotland. This is our one chance. Napoleon's gone. Let's go to Switzerland. So she got them down to Switzerland, and they all wound up meeting Byron and Percy Shelley, and they were in the Villa Diodati. Now, this is the very famous haunted summer. Because of Tambora, the weather was horrible. It was raining, lightning, all manners of horrific weather. This, in fact, is where Byron wrote his wonderful poem, Darkness. And they entertained themselves by reading bits of stories, old horror ghost stories from a book called Phantasmagoriana.
Mm-hmm.
And that book, incidentally, is still available today, and it's also online. You can read the stories for free. Read them for free. They're no good. I mean, we grew up with the Twilight Zone, so we know what a decent story is.
We do.
But one night they were telling stories, and instead of this Phantasmagoriana, they were reading a vampire poem called Christabel. And here's just a little side. If anybody out there is in a goth mood, you like rainy days and vampire poetry, you have got to read Christabel. This is an incredible thing. But all of a sudden, right in the middle of the reading, Percy Shelley literally freaks out. He runs from the room screaming. Polidori runs after him because, after all, he is supposedly a doctor. Lord Byron is sitting there having a big laugh about the whole thing. He was like that.
Yeah.
And then when they finally got calmed down, Byron threw the Phantasmagoriana aside and said, look, let's have a contest. Let's all write our own ghost story. And hooray, yippee. Well, that's where we get two of the horror classics. The first one, Mary Godwin, she went to bed and she had a nightmare about a dead body lying on a bier and a young man who was very much like the alchemist Doppel. And he brought this dead person to life. Later on, she married Percy Shelley.
Yep.
She became Mary Shelley.
Yep.
And of course, the novel was Frankenstein. The other one, Byron, he's the one who came up with the idea. And then he realized, I do poetry. I don't really do much with stories. But he started to write a ghost story, a vampire story, set in, I believe that was in Turkey near Smyrna. And if you read it today, you can still read it. It's called Fragment. And it is an incredible story. I mean, you are engaged. You can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And it just ends.
Mm-hmm.
And he just set it aside, never got back to it. But Polidori, he knew about it. Apparently he read it and he knew about this. Now, a few weeks later, they all go their separate ways. Byron winds up dying in Greece later on. Percy drowns off the coast of Italy. Polidori was fired.
Mm-hmm.
Byron couldn't put up with him anymore. So as a matter, let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. You're out of here.
Right.
So about 2 years later, Polidori says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to write my ghost story now. And he had in his head what Byron had written. Well, Polidori was not a good writer, but what he wrote was complete, unlike Byron's, and it was actually a good story struggling to come out through the awkward writing. This was called The Vampire. Later that year, Polidori committed suicide. He drank prussic acid. He never saw that his little novella became an incredible hit. It went all throughout Europe in the theater. It went from novel to the stage. And a lot of different writers were making their own version for the stage of his novel. One of them, incidentally, was a man named Alexandre Dumas, who was, of course, the author of The Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers. It's more than just the candy bar. And by the 1880s, everyone in the theater world knew all about this play. And it reached Ireland. There is a young man who had grown up very sickly, but all of a sudden the illness went away. Now he's this big, strong, red-haired, bearded, strong, tough guy, full-on Victorian male. And he's working as first as a clerk for the courts.
Yep.
And then he is also a drama critic. And of course, this man is Bram Stoker.
And with that, Stephen, I need to get a break in here. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about Bram Stoker as we're talking about Stephen's new book, The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula. This is something you don't want to miss out on. This is a book you don't want to miss out on as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstonempls.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun, a night out with friends, or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape. And I just want to let everybody know, if you haven't done so already, the Swenson Family Farm investigation in Montevideo over by Granite City is this weekend, and we would really like to see you out there. All you need to do is go to the Chippewa Falls Historical Society on Facebook. They're going to have all the information about the investigation. We've done episodes about this place before, and it is off the charts. It is very cool, lots of spirit activity, maybe other types of activity as well that we would try to find. But you'll have to come out to see what we're talking about with that. It's going to be great. Speaking of activity, we've really have this great book that we're talking about today. It's only been out for about a month. The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula, written by Steven J Rolfes. And there we are, right? I got it right. It only took me saying it 25 times. And I just really enjoying this. I mean, Dracula is one of my favorite stories on every level, and vampires in general are very much favorite. But you've also written other type of books, right, Stephen?
2 years ago, I wrote Cry of the Banshee, Beware the Cry of the Banshee. And that talks about banshees in Ireland, of course, and throughout the British Isles, and also death messengers in general. And you find them in almost every culture.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Now, and all your books, they're available on Amazon, right?
Oh, yes.
Amazon,
Barnes and Noble. I think Llewellyn, I think you can order them directly from there.
And then also we always say, if you want to go and support the local bookstores, go to local bookstore as well. And if they don't have it, see if they can order this for you. Maybe a place like Moonstone, Minneapolis could order one for you as well. And then, as always, I always ask people, if you're feeling in a good mood, go to ghostboxradio.com, Ghostbox Book Club. There we have the book as an Amazon affiliated link, which money kind of comes back to the show. But no matter how you get it, just get it, right? That's really what it comes down to. Just get the book, for goodness sake. We were talking between the breaks, and obviously with a book like this, one of the things that is very clear is that there is a lot more to the original story of Dracula that Bram Stoker put together than just basing it off of that. One of the big influences I always thought was Vlad the Impaler, but that doesn't seem to not be as big as I thought it was.
The connection to Vlad the Impaler is very tenuous, but it is real.
Yeah.
And very slight. Originally, Stoker was going to set his vampire novel in Styria. That's with a T. It's part of Austria, very mountainous and wild, because his old boss, Sheridan Le Fanu, put his great vampire story, Carmilla, in Styria. And Stoker had a great name for his creature, Count Wampir. Now, obviously, that beagle's not hunting.
No.
But while he was on vacation in Whitby, he learned about the wreck of the Russian ship Dmitri on the shores of Whitby. That is where the shipwreck in Dracula came from. He learned about this, and of course, in Dracula, the wolf jumps off and hides in the grave of a suicide. This was one slight problem for Stoker. Austria doesn't have a lot of sea trade. It's completely landlocked. So he had to find another place, and he found Transylvania.
Yes.
And he's doing research on it, and he found a book on an exploration of the history of Wallachia. And there, in a footnote, only in a footnote, in like one sentence, is the name Dracula. But Stoker saw that, I have it. I have the name of my vampire. He will be called Dracula.
You bring up Whitby, okay? And I just have to say a couple things about that. First of all, in Bram Stoker's book, Whitby is so well defined in terms of, like, before I ever got to see it, because I went out there. It just the imagination came alive. And I also, whenever I talk about anyone about Dracula, I always point out the 1977 BBC production that's called Count Dracula, which I think is, in my opinion, the best adaptation for television and film of the story. That's just, once again, in my opinion.
It is very accurate, except that it got a number of things wrong.
Yes, it does.
For example, Lucy Westenra is going to marry 3 different people. She has 3 different men coming at her, Seward, Godalming, and a Texan named Quincy Morris. Now, in the novel, of course, she decides she's going to marry Lord Godalming. They almost laugh at Quincy Morris. In the BBC production, she's going to marry Quincy Morris.
She's going to marry Quincy, yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, but but overall, I mean, there's other things that you're absolutely right, is not quite there, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. You can do no better than the 1922 Murnau's classic Nosferatu.
Which is so ironic in a sense, because of the legal battles that took place with Bram Stoker's widow. And we almost didn't have that film, didn't we? I mean, it's pretty incredible, actually.
Florence Stoker kept going to the mailbox looking for, okay, is there going to be a paycheck for using my late husband's work? No. Well, let's do what they say in Mexico. May your life be filled with lawyers. And for like 3 or 4 years, Murnau's life was filled with lawyers. They lost the case, and the judge said, take every copy of that film and set it on fire. You have to destroy every print. Well, thank goodness there were a few scofflaws running around, and we have the second greatest vampire film of all time.
And I have the Blu-ray. I think I have the BFI Blu-ray actually. And no, it's not BFI, but I every time I watch it, and I watch it fairly a lot. I think the stars above that we have that, because it was close to only hearing about it as another lost silent film. Okay, we have about 4 minutes before I want to take another break. But here's the thing: you said the second greatest vampire film. What is
I'm leading you on there.
You are leading me on, and I'm hook, line, and sinker over here.
Okay, you want to know what my favorite is? Number one, the film that I watch once a year on Halloween night, 1931, Carl Dreyer's classic Vampire. And I see from your smile, you've seen that one too.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, that's great. That is great. And so that's a tradition for you, huh?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the kids want to see Nightmare Before Christmas. We watch that, and then we hit the heavy stuff with Dreyer.
Okay, real fast, because it's kind of interesting. One of my all-time favorite vampire films is the 1979 miniseries Salem's Lot. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And your take on, for example, in the Stephen King book, Barlow is cognizant. He speaks eloquently. He's kind of a gentleman in a sense, a Victorian, or he's much older than Victorian though. But in the miniseries, he's more of kind of a grunting sort of like monster, really. Do you feel like vampires should be more one way or the other?
Yes, I feel that the grunting and such is certainly far more in line with the actual documented cases and the folklore of vampires. I've never heard of one actually doing real estate deals and arranging a travel to another country, learning a foreign language. You look at someone like Arno Paola, or in the United States, Mercy Brown or Sarah Tillinghast is the other Rhode Island vampire. And they're just predators. They're parasites. Yeah. Just like it says in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs. I need to look up that actual chapter and verse. I think it's 30, but it says, the horse leech hath 2 daughters who cry out, give, give. And the word for horse leech, aluka, is another word for a vampire.
Yes. Absolutely incredible stuff here. Since we're kind of at a break here, why don't we take our next break here so that we can spend a little bit more time talking more about the book. And I have another media related question about the story of Dracula. I want to get your thoughts on as well. What a great conversation. And I want to keep this going. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lilliput is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lilliput is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lilliput also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lilliput is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilliput.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to see the return of Matt Schmidt. Well, you're going to be like, well, he was just on last week. But this is a replay of his appearance with us in May. And what we talk about here is quantum healing, but we're also talking about quantum healing and aliens. And it was a great conversation. And I think if you haven't listened to it, I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you have listened to it, I bet you're going to listen to it again and pick up stuff that he talked about that you didn't quite get the first time. So definitely check that out. Then, of course, Friday is a brand new Casual Friday. So thank you for joining us for that. We are talking about the latest book from Steven J Rolfes. And we are talking about The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula. Just came out. Published by Llewellyn Publishing. You can get this anywhere. And it's, once again, let alone the amazing contents of the book, beautifully laid out. I love a good-looking book. I always love a good-looking book. So this is fantastic. One more question for you, Stephen. I'm just curious, what about, I think it was 2018, the BBC came out with a mini-series on Dracula over 3 parts. And Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss created this. Had you seen that one?
I haven't seen that one, and yeah, that's one I would like to see. I saw the earlier one, which I believe was from the 70s.
Okay. No, this is relatively new. We're knocking on 10 years on this now, but there's some tropes in the miniseries. It's 3 episodes that really are unique and tries to dispel certain things that have been, lore for vampires for years. So it's something to look out for. I think I don't know if you have Netflix or anything. I knew at one point it was on Netflix. I ended up getting the Blu-ray for it, but it's interesting, and I'll leave it at that. Maybe someday you'll be able to check it out and we can talk about it, because I think it's worth a discussion, especially someone like yourself who has done so much research on the character to see where they take it. Your thoughts on that as well. So yeah, let me know if you ever track that down, and we can talk about it. I'd be very curious.
I just noticed something. We spoke in the break about this being aired this Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's Blood Moon Eve.
Blood Moon Eve.
Of course. Thursday is the lunar eclipse.
Okay, that's right. That's right. It is.
Moon. So this is Blood Moon Eve.
Blood
Perfect
Moon
timing.
Eve. My God. So you've written a book, The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula, which explores the history of vampires and inspiration behind Bram Stoker's masterpiece. What would you say is some stuff that Bram did to research the book that maybe we have no idea about? Because reading through different parts of it, there's a lot to this that really is, to me, it seems a lot to put a book together, a story together. And I'm not a writer, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But what are some stuff that are just like, really like maybe someone doesn't know that he had researched and how far he went?
A lot of this goes to that trip to Whitby. Mm-hmm. Now, Bram Stoker was a workaholic, and working for Henry Irving, you had to be. But he finally got a vacation. He took his wife, his son, Noel. They went up there, and Stoker walked around, and he would talk to old sailors and such, and, the person in the shop. And he learned a lot about, Whitby. And when he grew up, remember I mentioned he was a very sickly child, his mother would tell him old Irish stories, such as the Dair Dul, which is the red blood drinker, and the Dullahan, which is the headless driver of the coach of Bauer. And all of this came back along with what he learned from the mother of his rival for the hand of Florence Balcombe, a lady named Lady Wilde, Lady Jane Wilde. She was a folklorist from Ireland as well. And incidentally, that other lover for Florence, Oscar Wilde.
Oh, really? Really?
But yeah, a lot of those things came together. One other thing, at the Lyceum Theater, after a performance, the cast and any distinguished guests they had would meet backstage in what was called the Beefsteak Room. And here, Stoker was able to talk to a lot of people, including members of a group called the Golden Dawn. He spoke with Arthur Macon, Mathers, who was like the president, and most importantly, I believe her name is Pamela Coleman Smith. She was designing and doing the artwork for what became the Rider-Waite Tarot. And the tarot is found throughout the entire novel of Dracula.
Wow. So he goes out to Whitby, and he's trying to, is like you said, he's trying to get an idea for Whitby, but it's also trying to nail the way people talked and the lives that they live off the sea and stuff like that, and because he wants to get it as accurate as possible, right? Because that's part of the story, is how you have a parasite that comes into a town and is terrorizing to some degree, at least some of the citizens of Whitby.
Well, you have in Whitby, you have Lucy,
Yep.
who dies, Lucy Westenra, which is, of course, a symbolic name. Western, Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun, setting the sun in the west. And she dies. She comes back as the Bloofer lady, and she is an inversion of motherhood. Instead of holding and cherishing a child and suckling it, she is feeding off of the children.
Right.
And I won't go any further with that because we want this to be a family show. Yes.
Right. So
Adam's
also,
family, maybe.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're on late, but people can still listen to us during the day. So yeah, maybe not. Here's the thing. You yourself, I mean, obviously, you probably knew a lot of this to some degree when you wrote the book, but I'm sure there's some new stuff. Was there anything that you, regarding the whole book, not just Bram Stoker, that you were just like, I didn't know this. This is this is great. Is there anything like that?
Well, I went back to Clive Leatherdale's analysis of Dracula, and if you want to make a serious study of the novel, this is the place to go. He looks at it from every possible angle. He looks at historical, he looks at it symbolic, and just about any way that you want to go. Political, there's a lot of politics in there too. Because what is Dracula doing? He's forming a colony.
Yeah.
England, which is this huge colonial empire. Now here's this creature from Southeast Europe coming up, and he is starting a colony in England. And of course, the stout English people and an American guy from Texas, they have to defeat the foreign enemy.
It's that's really neat, actually. There's some really that's really good stuff in the book. Do you think vampires have been around for a long time? Do you think obviously I think that Dracula is an impetus for the vampire like myths and culture that really broke into the 20th century and onwards. Do you think, this is so like, just in your mind, do you think if Bram Stoker didn't do Dracula, do you think it would be a long time before we would have such a story like it? I think it would happen eventually, but do you think it would be a long time, or do you think it would be sooner?
We already had bits of that. Yeah. Like I say, with Polidori's Lord Ruthven, also Christabel, Carmilla, and some other early vampire creatures. Yes, they were more like a cognizant villain. In fact, and I don't want to go over on the time here, but the first chapter in which I talk about vampires, I open the book with the question, was Count Dracula a vampire? Of course, you would think, well, of course he was. He was like the king of vampires. Yeah. And then I look at other actual cases of vampirism, and then you say, well, he was something very different, but still a vampire, though.
Well, okay. So, and you think, as we have about just under 5 minutes left, do you think that Bram, like the way that you've kind of dissected Dracula just now, as vampire or not, is that something that Bram was aware of that he did, or do you think that that's just something that he wrote and didn't really put much thought into that part of it like that?
Well, there was one inspiration. I really don't have time to talk about it here because we're running out of time. But that was right before he went to Whitby. He helped to produce one of the greatest theatrical performances of all time. That was Henry Irving as Faust.
Yes.
And this was such a momentous thing. I describe it in detail in the book, but it was kind of like a Pink Floyd concert nowadays. And that was, looking at Irving as Mephistopheles, Stoker knew there's my character. There's my vampire.
Absolutely. And I forget, very, very popular when the book came out.
In 1897.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had been a few years before. But of course, the original Polidori's story, which had been turned into all these plays, that's still being performed here and there all over. I have no idea why no one has made that story into a movie today.
Yeah, it hasn't.
It would be perfect.
Yeah.
Hollywood, are you listening?
Probably not, because they don't ever make a lot of great decisions. And then, of course, what sealed the deal, right, is Bela Lugosi and 1931 Todd Browning Dracula, right?
The film itself is weak, but to hear Lugosi say, "I am Dracula,"
right?
That's worth the price of popcorn right there.
It is, and it is. I mean, I hate to say it, I think you're absolutely right about it's interesting when you watch like Dracula, which is a play that is being shot, in my opinion, a play is being shot with film cameras, whereas you look at something like Frankenstein, and James Whale, and you get this very cinematic experience. But yet it's Bela Lugosi that creates that wonderful character that has endured so much. I hate to. Well, no, we still have some time here. I was going to wrap us up, but we have just about a minute 30 left. With that being said, I don't know. I just feel like that I need to go and watch a vampire film now. What do you recommend?
Well, like I say, vampire. How about Bram Stoker's Dracula? That is very close to the novel, except for the Vlad the Impaler stuff they stuck in.
They make such a big deal out of it. It's like the preface and everything, isn't it?
Yeah. And also the ending with Winona Ryder, and just forget that. Just watch the middle of the movie, and you have a great piece of art.
Yeah, it is. I remember my late father. That was his favorite film. He absolutely loved it. So that's great. Once again, the book is called The Bloody Road to Castle Dracula. Explore the history of vampires and inspiration behind Bram Stoker's masterpiece. Written by Steven J Rolfes. And we are out of time, but we're going to get you back to talk vampires here pretty soon, right? Because, I mean, we're getting into Halloween. It'd be a great time to do it again. What do you think?
I'll wear a mask. Yes.
And don't forget the party hat. You said you'd wear a party
hat. And the party hat. Yes.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Stephen, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to be back tomorrow talking with Matt Schmidt. Everyone, have a fantastic night.